Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Doug Bard, the co-founder of the Wave Tape, a tape that makes moving more efficient. Doug started the company with his father, Bob. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
So I'm excited to have you on because I find this super interesting what you made here. And it's a side hustle too, which is super fun to talk about. But before we get into that, give us a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. My full-time job, I've been technology sales, have been for a very long time, but I grew up as the son of an aerospace engineer. So in my house, there was always kind of innovating, improving, coming up with solutions, unique solutions. So I always used to say that my father enjoyed more when things broke versus than when things worked, because it gave an opportunity to solve things in a unique way. So, I went to business school. I grew up at the beach, fishing and surfing, have a love for water. And once I graduated college and got a full-time job, I also started working with my father on different inventions. So together we have, he's got 6 US patents to his name. I am co-inventor on 3 of them. So this started, well over 20 years ago. So we've had some really kind of cool products, some really cool mechanisms. But, bringing things to market is a big challenge. Most people come up with an idea, then actually getting the prototype. And we were prototyping way before there were these little prototyping machines, 3D printers, all of that. I had to really cut my teeth on all of that. So lo and behold, about 3 years ago, I've got a wife, 2 beautiful children, a job. My dad comes to me, he's like, I've got a new idea. And I'm like, okay. He says, and his next sentence is, I was in the bathroom. I'm just like, what is this? And so the real story here is my dad. So I'm now 52, dad's 82. He was in the bathroom and could not find the end of a roll of toilet paper. And so that is where so he, again, at that point, he's 79, 78. So he started telling me about it and we started talking about it. I said, Dad, toilet paper, I haven't run it. I couldn't really relate to it. And then through just a little bit more conversation, we're like, tape, like, holy cow, clear packing tape. Like that is,
yep.
And there's not a single person that we talk to, unless they're a baby or too small and haven't actually used clear. Everybody can relate to this problem. And so probably about a year and a half of trying to figure out how to get sampled. I knew nothing about polypropylene tape or all the different, how do you get somebody to print on tape and, what's the proper marking? So we had to go through a process, but lo and behold, about 2 years ago, we had call it V1.0. We kind of released that and it was a red version of the tape. I'll show you just something that we have right here. So this here is the actual Wave Tape. So you can see, you can always find the break. So that is our tagline, Wave Tape, find the break every time or see the break every time. But originally we had a red version with a wavelength that was shorter. And so through our kind of experimenting, we realized that wavelength actually perfectly overlapped, taking away the utility of the marking system. And other people said it looked like hazmat material, hazmat mark. Like that's not good for marketing. No. Let's not do that. So we're sitting there and we're talking. We're like, I got to change the wavelength. And I surf and I'm maybe checking out the surf report and wavelength, change the wavelength, bam, Wave Tape. And then it just started, Wave Tape, see the break every time, wave goodbye to the hassles, wave hello to the ease, ride the wave of packaging ease. It just all started coming together. Right. And that's what gave life to what we're side hustling today, which is, the Wave Tape. We've been at market for about 9 months now. We've done really well. We just came back from our first trade show, thus the really cool shirt. And we had the whole family out there. It wasn't just me and my dad. My brother came in from California. My mom even came. So my parents, 82, mom, 78, my brother from California. And we were at the National Hardware Show in the inventors section.
Yeah.
And it was so validating. It was so unbelievably validating. Everybody has this problem. So we're really excited. Yeah.
Yeah. 100% have had that problem. Can't tell you how many times. And then you start peeling it and then the tape rips and then you got to still find the edge of it. It's very frustrating and irritating.
And a very interesting point on that, which has really bubbled to the surface. Like we were saving, kind of time and frustration. But to your point, the amount of tape that is wasted, we did a calculation. If we save one inch per roll sold domestically annually, that is tons of waste averted annually. And so the big manufacturers have tried to come up with all these different materials and things, but sometimes it's heavier. It eliminates the reduction in carbon footprint. So ours is just very simple. You're going to waste less and tape more. It's that simple.
Yeah. So I was going to ask if this was the first time you've done something entrepreneurial, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like there's been a series of stuff. Is there other entrepreneurial stuff that's still running in the background, or is this kind of the main side hustle?
Yeah, no, there are. So a couple of patents have expired. Actually, I have one that sits on my desk that's expired. This is called Stop a Spill, gravity operated drink holder. So you simply place your cup, can, bottle in. That one was super cool. That gave way to the self-actuated Christmas tree stand, but we got beat to market by Black & Decker. We have something that's still available called the trunk table, which is basically a car camping and tailgating table for not SUVs, but like sedans and things like that. That one we're still working on. The big, most altruistic one is a device for people with walkers and their caregivers. So allowing them to go from sitting to standing and standing to sitting. And that is what they call a transfer and mobility device. So that one's still got, it's still very, very viable, and we're very excited about it. But the wave tape is really kind of was the one that we could bring to market, that we could produce, that we could, stock inventory and start selling, and is most kind of universally applicable, right? Everybody can relate to the problem.
So let's talk about the business, like how you came about this. So, okay, we understand the background story of how the idea came up.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know who to go to talk about manufacturing a roll of tape for me. So how did you approach that process, and how did you figure it out?
That's definitely the hardest part of all of this, right? Like when you're going into a space that you're completely unfamiliar with. And I'd say it probably used to be harder, but now there are so many resources. Just so through friends that I have that I've developed, like I've been very fortunate to develop a great professional network through LinkedIn. So I mean, across industry. So I have friends that sell products, on Amazon, who have sourcing partners. So I was able to, get to them, talk to them about being able to like source actual tape, and then talk to them about printing. So literally it's just conversation to conversation. Now you can probably use any of the AI tools, anything, and you can at least find a source right away. But this is, just earlier to the wide use of something like a chat GPT. So through friends who are sourcing products, we're able to get some prototypes made. And that's the first part of the process, right? You have to have some prototypes made. And we've made the mistake, like that device that I showed you before, Stop a Spill. We thought we were addressing a market need of stopping desktop spills. Not so much the case, right? So I think that's a really important lesson that I learned. We'd spent a lot of time working on something that really wasn't addressing a need. And if you're not addressing a need, you're going to need a lot of marketing dollars. So to get a prototype build to kind of, as they say in a couple of different industries, to fail fast so you can then move on. I think it's important to have prototypes made and bounce it off of like an objective, focus group to get some solid feedback, because then you can really start to understand. If we had done that with the wave tape, essentially we probably wouldn't have gone with the Reddit first too. So kind of forgot some of the lessons learned, then you start to kind of remember some of those as it gets more and more expensive. So yeah.
Yeah. So how are you running this business then? Is it like, are you actually fulfilling yourself? Are you getting, manufacturer to ship you tape and then you're shipping out to other people? You're using a third party? Like, how are you managing?
Excellent question. So again, really kind of depends on stage of life. I think for those things previously, I've tried to do it all myself.
Yeah.
And, I have a full-time job. I have 2 kids who are 11 and 13. I have a full-time wife. I've got a lot of demands on me, but I also am a loyal. My family is my life, not just my family here, but my parents, my friends. That is the number one priority in my life. And so to make this happen, in order to make it happen for my dad, for my family, for myself, I realized that, I was willing to give up a lot more, at least on the front end, to get things going. So through some connections, again, networking through the guy that I worked with on some of the marketing design, I was able to connect with an individual, a company that actually has a supply chain, that has warehousing and distribution. So clearly they wanted something for their efforts. So we're able to negotiate a deal. I feel very fortunate in that those individuals are just, I've run into enough people. They're more the exception than the rule. They're fair, they're nice, they're fun. Not that people are bad, but I've run into enough. They're just great. And so they were able to basically be that infrastructure to source the product now, to warehouse the product, and then fulfill through Amazon. They also have distribution relationships. So they've got people out there talking to some of the other e-com retailers, which I don't have the time to do that. I'm a salesperson, but again, so many hours in the day. So there's that whole piece. And for that, they take a nice chunk, but they also allow me to do the Amazon piece, which we're selling on Amazon today. And we have a lot of things to follow up from the trade show as well. So they're able to basically be our source should we get a big order.
Yeah. So talk to me about how that works out. So it's been 9 months that you've been doing this. Mm-hmm. What is revenue looking like? What's the sales distribution? Are you selling to individuals like me? Are you selling to like contractors? Like who's the buyer here and how are they finding out about you?
So we've been able to, so definitely, with and let me make an important distinction. So the wave tape is patent pending. And, this tape right here, it could be anybody's clear tape. It's not really about the tape itself. It's about the marking system, right? So that's a key piece of it. So it's patent pending. And also the marking system, I mean, really, it's not related to the color. So our brand, Wave Tape, is definitely targeted towards the consumer. Anybody in the stores, anybody watching like an infomercial, anybody shopping on Amazon. But the reality is that this marking system could change colors. It can be used in a warehouse. So right now, we figured the quickest path to revenue would be direct to consumers under this brand where we could promote on social media, thus the Wave Tape. And so in the 9 months we've been to market, we've done about $21,000 in revenue. Okay. There's a good portion of that came through a test on Home Shopping Network where we were very well received, but they have very specific numbers about, kind of their revenue per minute. So that can be a challenge with something like tape, but we've also done well on Amazon and now we're available online at Walmart, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Target, and internally at Ace Hardwares. So these are all kind of newer relationships, but we need to allow people to know about it, which is why we went out to the National Hardware Show, which then we start talking to like maybe there's a B2B play where it can be used in warehouses. And we also auditioned for Shark Tank and we got the call back, did everything, did our video. We were one step away from where they started actually, kind of videotaping us. And they said, not this season, which is cool. We, just keep on hacking at the thicket, so to speak.
Well, let me ask you about that specifically then, because I'm a Shark Tank watcher. There's a lot of things on there that annoy me because I think the way they say it is not the right exact way.
Sure.
Where they're positioning it, but it's like I'm bickering over small things. I think for the general public, it's just because I'm
entertainment too, good TV, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what was your motivation in thinking about going on to a show like that? Is it really for promotion or are you actually looking for an investment? Because this is a side hustle for you.
We've been, for a lot. So while I've made these concessions with, going to market with this partner and things like that, we've kind of kept it mostly to ourselves. And so we felt like, we really could probably make things happen without taking significant investment. So Shark Tank was a little bit promotion, a little bit investment. We have people around us that we could probably take some money and give away some of the company. But the reality was we thought, like a lot of people think, if people saw us, if people liked us, there's enough buzz, then maybe they just start buying it in mass. So, And there's also an element where I knew my dad would absolutely love it. My 11 minutes of my 15 minutes of fame were used up on this segment on Good Day New York when I was caught surfing during work hours, but that's a story for another time. But it would have been fun, and we're still not ruling it out. But right now, the trade show has given us a lot to chew on, because we've had some folks come up to us where they've got an infrastructure set up. Let's just say it's a direct to consumer infrastructure, and they might have these audiences sussed out as well. They just need products to plug into their machine, right? And if the metrics work out, then so be it. So those conversations are taking place right now. So I feel I'm excited about that, tired,
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, thinking about your kind of distribution partner, like I've obviously never bought your product yet. When you
the power of the word yet,
when you get the product, is wave tape used on the outside of the product to ship it?
You had to ask that question, didn't you? Yeah.
You're a brand guy. You're an ad sales guy.
I know.
I wanted to see if everything connects.
And no, it's not until we know the company that actually that wraps every single Amazon box or does all their packaging. And actually, we talked to some of those folks at the show. Not that they'd be using ours, but yeah, it's just we haven't earned that right yet. We hopefully one day we will. Because again, if you think about the amount of tape that's wasted, that's probably one of the most compelling aspects that really wasn't immediately apparent to us. But you literally see these big tape companies that have VPs of sustainability, and it all kind of comes back to just waste less. I mean, so
the amount that one of these online sellers probably wastes in a day is probably mind-boggling.
It is, and they could take it and so any of the guy like UPS could make this brown and gold, FedEx blue and orange, Home Depot. So it's the opportunities with wave tape are really kind of wide open when it comes to that private labeling, type approach. Even school bookstores at these big, Division I schools with their, it's the colors, it's
Yeah. Did you have any experience in logistics or packaging before this, or just gone into this cold?
No experience with really kind of packing and shipping. Definitely entrepreneurial experience, but just through friendships and I like we talked about, I think prior to the interview, having been at the beginning of the internet, as I call it, being where we were back in that time, I've seen it, I've watched it, and I just kind of, I've had these other ideas and just kind of worked on them, everything from, writing music to inventing products. But so all that's, it's really cool to watch all that evolve. And so now it's just, whether it's Amazon or TikTok shop, these 3PLs, it's right there before everybody. Shopify, it's amazing. So
was there anything that made you nervous about starting this business?
No.
Anything that gave you pause?
No, because the reality is I'm a pretty philosophical kind of guy, and not to get too heavy for this, but I mean, this is life. This is not a dress rehearsal. We're here. I mean, if I'm above ground, feeling good, and everybody in my family as well, and what do I really have to lose? There's things you can really do that are I surfed Hanalei Bay last week when it was too big for me. That's a different story. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it's a chance worth. I'm not putting my family at risk or anything like that. So and I had learned enough to feel really good about it too. So I think that's important. What I see with some of the younger set now, there is they want, just like I was told, they want things handed to them pretty quickly and things to happen pretty quickly. And I don't know if there's any, especially, you see all these people that are successful on social media. There's a lot of work that goes into those people produce it, but it's not seen. That effort is not seen. And I think that's where there's going to be a challenge. So I feel really good about my effort 25 years into the whole invention thing. So yeah, I've learned a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the boundaries of this. This is a side hustle. You've got a full-time job.
Yes.
Yes. And you're a surfer too. So you want to get out and hit the waves.
Yes.
How do you think about that? And how do you delineate time for a new side hustle like this and make sure that everything's taken care of?
Okay. Excellent question. Thank you. First things first, family and friends, again, always first, no matter what. So if there's something going on with the kids or my wife or my parents, that takes priority. That said, if that's all set, I have a full-time job, but generally with something like surfing, which is very, very important for me personally. Other people might go to the gym or do whatever, but the waves or the winds tend to be calmest in the morning. If there's good surf, I can get out there between the time that the sun rises and be back to even take my kids to school. So that's normally not an issue. I can squeeze that in. I could go on a lunch break, but I make time for that because whatever biochemical response my body has, it feeds me and it energizes me. And that makes me want to go, go, go. So that's very important as well. That said, my full-time job, it's a great company. They treat people very well. I've done very well for them. I respect the boundaries. So, this is like, during my lunch hour right now, so I can do this, but nobody's calling me up from the company at 8 o'clock at night when I'm reviewing a proposal, nor are they calling me up at 4:30 to say, good job for getting up and doing your admin before you go surfing, because that's just how I've learned to operate at this stage of the game. Right. So it's just a matter of, the word ruthless, it doesn't have like a positive kind, but it's prioritization, right? And knowing that there are things that are going to help me kind of move along through my day, and there are things that are going to detract. Next Wednesday, I'm going to see a really cool band at night with my buddies. I might be slower on Thursday morning. So, but you have to, nothing is an absolute in this world in my mind, but that's, you just have to respect the boundaries, make sure you're doing right by whoever or however you've kind of like dictated how you're going to act and what you're going to do. And that's it. The rest is kind of, up to you.
So I take it no surfing on Thursday morning if you're going to be out late Wednesday.
Well, the truth is, if it's really good, I'll find a way to get out there. But yeah, it's just that helps to wash away some of the previous night's activities. So.
There you go. There you go. Beyond surfing, do you have any kind of exercise routine, or is that it? Is that the?
Yeah, there's actually a guy locally. Go figure. He's a surfer, but he started. CrossFit's a big thing, and I've never been a gym guy. But again, at my age, I've noticed certain parts of my body don't work as well. So he started up a CrossFit, but it's geared towards like water sports. It's called Salt Fitness Project. Super, super cool people. It's like our community is pretty local here, so there are a lot of these guys are younger than me, but so they're already more fit, and they might not have as many responsibilities. But it helps with the surfing. So again, because I want to surf and keep surfing, I go ahead and do that. So. Getting outside and being outdoors is hugely important. We just came back from a trip to Kauai, and it always reminds me, I live in the Northeast. This is where my family is, but there are a couple months out of the year where it's, you spend a lot of time. I'll surf all winter long. Don't get me wrong. I'm in a wetsuit. I was, all the time, but it's just nice to be outdoors and moving around. Red blood cells carry oxygen. The body becomes makes sense.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've done or implemented to help you kind of manage all of this, like technology or apps or systems to help you kind of make sure that you're paying attention to?
Yeah, I try to stay, up with technology. It gets a little bit harder because things come faster and faster. About 7 years ago, I took a course in artificial intelligence from MIT, one of those online courses, which was, I find there are tools like even just leveraging, say, like Outlook in the way that I do. Like some people, now you have Copilot, which is super cool, and that's great for those. But like just, I've developed little systems that allow me, because I do have, my dad says to me all the time, he's like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, I said, Dad, it's picture like, an Olympic swimming pool, and you have all these swimmers, right? That's just, the tools I have, like they allow me to like keep the swimmers in their lanes, and just kind of managing that way. It's not easy, but it's, I'm up to the task. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the product a little bit and kind of how you've figured out how to market this thing. So it's not the most...
Life can be hard. Your packing tape should be easy.
That's a good koozie there for your bottle plate.
Yeah.
So, how do you make the product stand out? People, if you ask me, like, what am I worried about today? Packing tape was not anywhere on the list, the top 100 list.
Correct.
So how do you think about that in terms of marketing and how in selling and talking about the product?
Correct. So, a couple different ways. So we're very grassroots right now, right? So like we haven't really spent any, major dollars on advertising. I have, taken on the persona of the tape dude. Kind of locally and anywhere I go, like we'll share information about just, and that's not really like, egregiously selling tape. It's me doing maybe a surf report. If we align ourselves with, initiatives that we believe in, like I think March 26th was Jersey Mike's Give Back Day, like all the revenue from the subs go. So on that day, we'll give back too. We're Wave Tape, so definitely aligned with like, anything from the Surf Rider Foundation, if there are local families in need around the holidays. So we do, it's very kind of organic in that sense. Like, yeah, we know we're just packing tape. We get it, right? But if we can make things maybe just a little bit easier, and we sure as hell appreciate the fact that people go through things, and again, it's just packing tape. So if we can do a little something to help them, that being said, as I mentioned earlier, what's emerged as kind of like a main value proposition is really the environmental benefit. Now, we're not going to sit here and go, we're saving the environment, but we are going to say, hey, you know what? You're going to waste less, hassle less, tape more. It's pretty simple. Right. So if you can, it's about creating that awareness, which is why we did the Shark Tank thing, which is why we've talked to, certain influencers at the National Hardware Show picked us up, a company called Tools in Action, and they promoted us. And here I am as Tape Dude trying to like do all these, Instagram posts. 400 or 500 views. They interviewed my dad at the show. Would you believe that he got like over 500,000 views and 5,000? It's about that kind of exposure and alignment. So at what point do we hit that kind of tipping point? The Gladwellian kind of, I don't know, but we just believe in just keeping it going and just trying. I wish there was some kind of, maybe I should punch it into ChatGPT, and I think I probably have, but there is no real handbook. So go to the trade show. I do have my latest promotional idea. So here we are today. This is awesome. Really appreciate this. There's a association of independent hardware stores, right? And they're scattered out throughout the United States. And so I thought, how cool would it be if I hop in a Wave Tape branded van with my dad and we hit the road, and we're going to visit these places, and we're going to do it. We're like 2 weeks on the road with dad, and we're going to go out, and it's really kind of that grassroots thing. We could take on a bunch of advertising now, but if you go to like an Amazon or any of the other places, the cost per click when a category is owned by, won't mention name by name, but these big brands, it's right. It's David. I'll do another it's David versus Goliath, Yeah. So we're happy to be David. We have our slingshot. So
yeah. Well, so what's your long-term view then of this business? Is this just a product? Does this become a company with other products? Is this something that you're going to exit and sell off? Is this a life, kind of a life business that you're just going to keep running forever? Like, what's the thoughts?
The plan, the strategy is to make Wave Tape a viable, kind of marketing success, if you will, right? But the marking system itself, the Wave Tape marking system, we think it's viable in the sense of, licensing it to any of these, it could be any of the big box retailers. It could be any of these guys that spend millions and millions and millions. The market is huge. Globally, it's in the billions of dollars for taping and packaging. So we don't know yet whether it's going to be a huge B2B play. Some people telling us it absolutely is, that, these big retailers want to use it in their own warehouses. But we also see kind of like the B2C play. So I think my main focus, I'm kind of a market facing kind of guy. I'm going to try to push that as hard as I can. So we have the Wave Tape brand. Then you've kind of got the marking system for any of these other guys who need to use tape. And maybe one of the big manufacturers picks this up and makes it theirs to kind of license out. We don't know, but that's the general plan. Get the brand going, make it a success, have a steady kind of, revenue stream there, while we also push kind of the B2B discussions and any other kind of licensing. So
yeah, interesting. Okay, last couple of questions here for you.
Any as you want. I'm not going anywhere.
If you could go back in time and it's only been 9 months, 9 months plus the time of developing this. But if you could go back in time and do something differently, is there anything, and what is that and why?
Well, yeah, I would have set up like, there was a reason we didn't set up our own e-commerce site right out the bat. Like if you go to thewavetape.com, it'll take you to a YouTube video, and we didn't do that initially. And I probably would have set that up because I think we probably missed some good opportunities. I'm in the process of doing that now. Yeah. I don't, it's not like a regret so much as like, maybe I should have pushed back on the reasons why we didn't, but My brother likes to say, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. Or the other one is, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
I like that. Those are two good things.
He's a little crazy, but he's a smart guy.
Okay, last question for you. What would you tell somebody that's thinking about doing what you've done and starting a side hustle and running it while they've got a full-time job? What advice would you give them?
Ruthless prioritize. If you've got a family, if you don't have family and friends, just go, and try and make sure you're not operating in an echo chamber, not your own, that's huge. So if you got family, prioritize, make sure you order things like family and friends come first. Don't operate in an echo chamber. And then the entire process, make sure you're getting feedback outside of your sphere of influence. Because there are a lot of people out there who just want to make you happy or are too scared to tell you that that's not a good idea. You need honest feedback, because that's really going to, I think, that'll guide the sound business decisions.
Well, this has been fantastic, Doug.
I feel the same way.
Listeners find it? I appreciate that. I'm glad that's true. Where can our listeners find and connect with you, Doug?
So you can go to the Instagram, the Wave Tape, Facebook, the Wave Tape, TikTok, YouTube, the Wave Tape. We are launching our Shopify site, in the next 2 weeks. So that'll be thewavetape.com. We can be found on Amazon. So I think that's pretty much it. We can be found, I think I mentioned before, online retailers include Walmart, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Target. Yeah. So we're out there, but feel free if anybody wants to DM, probably the Instagram is the best way. Yeah.
Awesome. Doug, thanks so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me, Sanjay. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast, powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. And to hear more Side Hustle to Small Business stories or share your own story, visit hiscox.com/side hustle to small business. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. You can find more about me at my website, sanjayparekh.com.